All right, welcome everybody. So the stock has been on a tear the last few days, the last few weeks, and actually we think that the stock might actually have a chance to go even further. There's going to be a catalyst that might happen this month or next month, and it's the revised Model 3. We're going to share with you a deep dive. We're going to show you some car segmentation analysis, price elasticity announcement, graphs as well. And we're going to share with you why we think that this could actually change the game for Tesla. In addition to that, we've got Brian White joining us, and he's an expert in uh, the gigafactories. And there's now more information and more rumors about Giga Mongolia and Giga India. So we're going to go review those as well. Welcome, Brian. Thank you again.
Good morning, Herbert. Yeah, I love being here. It's not Friday, so I'm not sure where I am, but we'll figure it out.
Right. So we're moving Brian's Tesla Todays to Wednesdays, and let's get going. So that's the first thing that happened recently. We're going to do a deep dive on Project Highland, which is the Tesla Model 3 revised Model 3 that we're all expecting to come out. And they internally call it Project Highland. And there's been many sightings of this car. And the most recent one was just a few days ago by our friend Ryan from the Kilowatts. He spotted Tesla's Project Highland prototype Model 3 for the first time in several weeks, testing in California this morning. So we're seeing more and more of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the video that he shared. All right.
So I got to say,
yeah,
there's some big takeaways here. The first is this design matches the leaks that we saw. When we first saw those leaks, we didn't know for sure if what we were seeing was real. Was it maybe somebody's home project that they just put a kit on it? That's a real thought. It could really be. This bumps it from rumor into an actual bona fide situation. And that's got a manufacturer California plates on it. If that's not a real Tesla in testing, then there's some other car manufacturer in California that's testing something that is a Tesla. So it's very exciting news.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ryan is great. And the fact that he was able to capture that was so good.
It's amazing. Ryan always captures these videos. But yes, so you said it's a manufacturer. And so let's take a closer look at what this is. So we've been seeing this revised Model 3 around all sorts of places. And here's some close-up pictures. So they've confirmed the new headlights. They've confirmed that there's new hardware for cameras. It's going to be an upgrade to the cameras around the car. Let's take a closer look at the photos. The headlight. And of course, they're covering it up because they don't want people to see the actual car quite yet. But this is how we know that it's the prototype that's going out there. Hardware 4, I think that they've talked about how it's positioned a little bit different so they can have a wider field of view. Here we go. That's the car. I think it looks a lot sportier, a little bit more sportier.
I think it does.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It's great. Okay. I mean, it looks similar.
It's a little more aggressive than the current Model 3. The current Model 3 is more of a happy looking car, and this is more aggressive and more of an angry looking car. And I think that's great.
Oh, I love the way you said that. So the other thing that they looked at is when you look at the back, there's a new taillights and the model, there's a diffuser, just like the Model S. Can you tell me what a diffuser is?
Sure. If you look underneath the back bumper, you'll see fins that run the length laterally to the car. And those are designed to improve airflow so that when the air is coming out from under the car, high pressure air turning into low pressure air, the diffuser allows it to have some turbulence to improve the aerodynamic drag. And so that's a inexpensive way to make the car even slipperier.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, here's a photo of actually without the cover, the bras in the front or the back, or at least we see the full thing. I believe, and I've heard, and I think it's rumors, Brian, you could tell me if you think it's true or not, that this Model 3, revised Model 3, they're making it look sportier. And some people are saying that it's actually built on the Roadster platform. It makes sense to me.
It makes sense. I hadn't heard that rumor, but that would absolutely make sense. If we're going, Yeah, because if we're going with the structural casting, the structural battery pack, that's a given. Front and rear castings, that'll improve manufacturability, that'll shorten the line, that'll improve throughput. All things we need to see from any Tesla line, from any line, but Tesla especially. And with the lower hood, it now would be a platform upon which you could build something sportier. Now, if you tried to build, if you did big castings like on a Model Y and tried to put a Roadster in that, it would end up being too boxy and tall in the front. So that would make absolutely perfect sense. The Roadster is going to be built in quantities sufficiently low that unless it's sharing a platform, it will never have mega castings because the mega castings require an awful lot of units over which to amortize the cost of the tooling and dialing it in the first place. So that would be a very smart move. And yeah, I think that's probably the right answer.
Yeah. So my theory is that I think that they're going to do the revised Model 3, but that we should talk about this, right? Where does it play in a segmentation? And so why don't you give us well, let me tell you my theory and then but give me a
Sure.
background of how it all happened with Model 3 and the pricing and the factories and so forth. But my theory is that they're going to make this new revised Model 3 more sportier. We can see photos of it. It's going to be built on top of the Roadster platform. Because it's like it can't it's going to be lower cost, but it's got to be separated from the future compact car. And so it can't be this bare thing that we have now with the Model 3. It's going to be a little bit more sportier. So I think it's going to be like the BMW M3 or the 3 Series, where, smaller car, but sportier. Uh, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's
Yeah.
a very sound theory on that. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about when Model 3 came out, and why its cost and price is so close to the Model Y, and what its cost structure is like?
Sure. So the Model 3, when it came out, was grossly inefficient in terms of how it was built. Sandy Munro was hired by one of the German automakers to do a teardown on the Model 3. If you remember production hell, the backlog was long and delivery times were slow. So they gave him the deposit. He put in the order. He got a Model 3. And then when he finally got it, he called them up and said, okay, I've got it. Go ahead and cut me the second check. And they said, oh, we already got one and tore it apart. You can just have it. He said, what on earth am I going to do with this car? I don't need it. And Corey Steuben wisely convinced him, tear it down for YouTube, see what
Mhm.
happens.
Mhm.
And we all know how that went. So when he tore it down, his first impressions were the drivetrain, the EV part of it, masterful. But everything from the hips up was dreadfully inefficient. He said, you've got too many types of welds, you've got too many types of joints, you've got too many types of every fasteners, everything. And those are all efficiencies that they've worked on since then. But they did a great job for a first truly mass produced car, but they've dialed it in since then. So the costs on the on the original Model 3, and even the one today, because you've still got bad habits that carry forward, the Model 3 is, by some estimates, more expensive to build than the Model Y. It doesn't have the structural elements, it doesn't have the big castings, it doesn't have the 4680 pack, and all of those things could be huge improvements that could reduce the cost. And we know that even still, they can sell it under 40 grand at a profit. Remember, they were targeting 35,000
Mhm.
before all the inflation hit. If you just factor in inflation, this is already less than the $35,000 target for a car that's significantly more capable than what we were offered for 35,000. This new version would take all those cost savings into consideration. You would have the octavalve instead of the super bottle. You would have the structural battery pack, the front and rear castings, and all the little things, all the lessons they've learned over the last 5 years, 6 years. And it would be cheaper still to build for a better car. So that's where we're looking at with that.
Thank you for that. Fantastic. Okay, so what's your estimate if they do the giga castings, whether it's both front and rear or just the rear, and all the learnings you said? What is the estimate of potential reduction in the cost for them to build the car? Are we talking 10,000? We're talking about 5,000? Yeah.
5,000 is my guess. It's big, but a whole lot of your cost is still the batteries itself. The battery is still going to cost the same, whether it's a structural element
Yep.
or integrated within a structure. And then just the sheer number of atoms that go into building a car can't really be avoided. The paint alone is a huge expense.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I see an easy path to 5,000. The other benefit you get is with a slightly lighter car, which you would be able to get a slightly. That means the battery can be slightly smaller to get you the same range. Well, now you just dropped another 100 pounds, 200, 400 pounds. Well, that has a knock on effect. Unlike a vicious cycle, this is a virtuous cycle. You end up needing slightly cheaper brakes, slightly cheaper wheels, slightly cheaper tires. All of that drops the weight a little bit more. And so you end up with, you could have more range with the same battery pack, or the same range with a much smaller battery pack. And it just cascades on you in ways that are really awesome to see. It's already comparable in weight to a Mercedes, a BMW 3 Class. This could get its weight even better. So we could be looking at Camry weight, which it almost is anyway.
Okay, wonderful. Let's take a look at some graphs here. So I've been waiting to show this. And so we've shown this graph before. This is coming from ARK Invest, and it's the price elasticity curve. Down in the row here, the x-axis is the dollars, how much a car costs, thousands of dollars, MSRP. And then the y-axis is the market, addressable market. Okay. What percentage of the addressable market the consumers are willing to pay for a certain price point of a car? And you can see that if your car is priced at $100,000, it's almost 0%. It's like 1%, 2% of people that can afford a $100,000 car. And as the car's price goes down, to 60,000, selling a $60,000 car only addresses like 5% of the market. And so what you see here is that in January, when they did those massive price cuts across the board, Tesla did, you can see that the price of the Model Y fell by $20,000 in some cases, 15,000 here. So you can see it went from about 70,000 to around 45,000, and the jump in the addressable market went all the way from, like, let's say 2% to 18%. Huge increase in how many people can now afford the Model Y. This is, I don't think, taken into account. This is MSRP, not taking into account the IRA, which even brings it down further, right? So this is why we're seeing a massive growth in the Model Y sales. And then the Model 3, with the price cut, it dropped it from about 8% of the market to now 25% of the market can afford this. So the question is, now that we're here, imagine if they can reduce it by $5,000, which is what you were saying. That $5,000 will bump it up to 40% of the market can afford a Model 3, if not even higher at this point.
Exactly. Now, this graph may be out of date because of inflation. It may be out of date because of higher interest rates. But if it is, all that means is you take the numbers and you just slide them over a little bit. The curve remains the same, even if the MSRP is a little different. And it's not that people aren't willing to pay more, it's that they're not able to pay more.
Yes.
So you're going to see a lot of, it's going to get pretty huge. Now, when the refresh comes out, it'll start high, as it always does. The first month, the first 6 months, we might see 30% kind of margins on it while they catch up with demand, because there will be a fresh round of demand from people who own the Model 3 already, and from people who don't, from people who are just getting into the brand and want the latest and greatest. It'll be a big deal.
Yeah. So let's take a look at some more graphs. Let's just put everything in perspective in terms of, is there a market for a Model 3, right? So we know that an SUV is the largest market. This is 2021 and 2022. This is global sales in millions of dollars. So you can see that it was $80 million of light vehicle sales in 2021. I don't know how accurate this looks, because I thought that it fell significantly from 80 because of the recession, but this is what these guys are saying. And but you can see the breakdown between the different kind of segmentation. SUVs, significant, but cars, when you combine all the different car segments together, they're also pretty significant. And you got the pickup, the commercial vans, and then the commercial vehicles. And then
Yeah.
here's another look at it. 2022. So 42% of all sales globally is SUVs. And then now they broke down the difference between a sedan and a hatch, 36%. So globally, while it may not be the case in the US, which we'll look at those numbers, globally, there is a demand for cars, sedans and hatch. What's your thinking?
So you've seen this shift in the US from sedans to SUVs, but how much of that is the demand and how much of that is the supply? Uh, a lot of people are saying, well, there's only 6 car colors that sell: black, white,
Mhm.
red, blue, gray, silver. That's it. Those are the only ones we're going to make. And what Bear pointed out from Bear's workshop is that those are the only cars that the dealers put on the lots. Those aren't the only colors that customers want. So it's more of the industry pushing what's available than the other way around. Ford got rid of their sedans. GM has gotten rid of almost all their sedans. If you don't build them, you can't sell them.
Mm.
And the reason they got rid of them wasn't because they weren't popular, it's because they weren't profitable. They hadn't figured out how to make money on them. So, but globally, you look at the charts, no, sedans are still huge. Not everyone needs an SUV. Not everyone wants something that size. And in places where gas prices are high and the economy per mile matters, people prefer a smaller form factor. And those are not going away just because you stopped building them.
Mhm.
If you look at Ford, they have one passenger vehicle left that is not a CUV or larger, and it's the Mustang. And I don't mean the Mach E, I mean the actual original two-door Mustang. And you cannot tell me that Ford expects to grow beyond 6 million units when they're ignoring something that is 20 to 30% of global auto sales. That's crazy. But they make more money selling 1 million or 2 million trucks than they would off selling 5 million cars. So they just, you know what? I'm too good for that. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We're going to dive deep into that. There's an article written about what happened to the US, but this stake was the global vehicle sales for now in 2019. These are fairly recent charts. You can see the SUV significant, similar to the charts we saw earlier. 34% sold globally is SUVs. Examples would be like the RAV4. This is why
Mm-hmm.
the Model Y is doing so well. As we know, Model Y is now the number one selling vehicle that's in the SUV category. But what's interesting about this chart is you can see that the next group, anything that's like I think an A, B, C, D, and F, I think they're all cars. They're all in the car
Mm-hmm.
segment, not the SUV, not the pickup, not the trucks. So the next one is they call it a Class C, which is the Corolla. That's the
Mm-hmm.
second best selling car globally across the world. A Corolla,
Yeah.
you know?
And the US automakers are ignoring that entire segment.
Yeah. So then you got the Polo, then you got a commercial vehicle, light commercial vehicle, you got the Camry, and then I was asking you what is an MPV.
MPV is a compact, uh, it's mini personal van, is what I call it.
Oh,
You see them. There used to be a Mazda MPV. They actually called it that,
oh yes,
and
yes.
it's basically like. And if you think back to the 80s, there was even a Civic that was a taller, longer version, like a wagon. It's a small, it's a a very compact SUV. So in Mexico, there's a Toyota car that you'll see on Uber XL, which is a 6 or 7 seater, but it's still a compact car. It's very small for 7 seats. And it's that segment where they need a small footprint, but maximum interior space.
Yeah. We'll talk about shortly some actual information about why SUVs are selling higher than cars. And then what we want to explore is whether or not the Model 3 Highland, if it's priced well, is there a market for, I guess, a sedan or a Corolla like or Camry like in the US? But we know what we're showing here is that there is a demand for that globally. Just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at the US now, here's the proof that everybody's been saying that, used to be that the green is cars and the black is SUVs.
Hmm.
And so it used to be that they were pretty well equal. Cars was even better, and then they switched. So now
So
SUVs
again,
seems to.
part of it is availability. Look at all your fleet cars.
Hmm.
In the 50s through the 90s, all your fleet cars were Ford Taurus, the Crown Vic, the Malibu, and the Chevys. And once those vehicles were discontinued, all the fleets moved to the Ford Explorers. So they moved up into something that was actually available. And then you've got, yeah, so if you're not selling them, you can't sell them. And it's hard to sell cars when you're not building any, is I guess the takeaway there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that, Brian. That's fantastic. All right, so let's take a look at this article. I apologize, I don't remember exactly where it came from, but I know that it's a very important car auto industry think tank. And they wrote an article very recently. It says, "Is the demise of the car body style a foregone conclusion? Are cars no longer important? SUVs have risen to dominate the US market, but as analysts, we're often asked whether the car body style will ever make a rebound." And so it kind of explain here. Don't expect you to read this, but I'll kind of summarize it for you guys. What happened? So, as they said back in 2022, 49% of all U.S. sales were SUVs, and 49% of all sales were cars, and SUVs were trailing at 31%. Okay, but what happened was uh, there was a recession, and when the recession ended, there was economic stability with 0% interest rates. So people were able to afford buying more expensive cars and the larger rooms of the cars. So SUVs became very popular. At the same time, the price of gas fell. And so, because of those two major reasons, the SUV just basically took off. Um, and then I think the other thing they didn't say what you said, which is the car manufacturers couldn't make profit on it, and they preferred to do it SUVs, and so they pushed it. So the question is there a chance for the car to come back? Well, this analyst says no. They say, returning to the question, if a possible renaissance for the car body style, the answer is that it's unlikely. The momentum for SUVs will continue. There's little sign of the trend abating anytime soon. So what they say, the reasons why they think that's the case is that a small or compact SUV is now roughly the same as a compact or mid-sized car. And that's example of the Model Y, and the price of the Model Y and the Model 3 today are very similar. And so people are like, why would I buy the Model 3 if I can just buy the Model Y for just a bit more dollars? The fuel prices are fluctuating, but that's not enough. I think they said that as people will sour. Of course, the last year or two, it just skyrocketed. The safety, people want safety. They want to feel like they're safety, and they like the higher ride height. And then, like you said, we have seen the Detroit Big Three abandon all development in the car sector. Okay.
Okay, so I'm ready to counter why that's not accurate.
Yeah, please.
The Yeah. So it is, like they said, it is easy to step up. It is much easier for a sedan buyer to say, I can accept a slightly larger car it's got the same footprint, it's just a little taller, but a lot of SUV buyers cannot step down to a sedan. That doesn't mean it's dead. And when they say that Detroit's not working on them anymore, that's their problem, but it's not as bad as it sounds because they've got divisions in Europe that are still developing them. When you look at Stellantis, they've got a lot of European sedan and other forms of electric cars already on the road that they could just rebadge and import from their sister brands. It wouldn't kill them at all. All they'd have to do is do it. So while Detroit may not be developing these cars, those companies in other locations, in many cases, are. So they're not dead yet. As much as Detroit might want them to be, they're not dead yet. And when we're saying, well, they don't have the profit margin, that's true of all their electric cars. What was it yesterday, 2 days ago? Uh, GM said it could take until 2030 to turn a profit on their
Mhm.
EV division. And that doesn't surprise me because they were saying 2025, 2026, but then the price wars began. And this is a war that they now realize they are not equipped to fight.
Yeah. All right. So we've got lots more information to share, but let's pause for a second and talk about this. So I personally think that this is Tesla releasing a revised Model 3. If they have lower price point, if it's separated even further by kind of a little bit more sportier car, okay, there's going to be a segment for this. Right now, there is no segment for the Model 3. They overestimated this how incredibly successful the Model Y was going to be, and they were priced so closely that the Model 3 didn't have a chance to really grow. With this revision, it's going to cost them less. The first question is, do you think they'll actually lower the price, or will they just maintain the price and just continue with this? So the argument that some people have, Brian, is they're saying that, listen, the Model Y is a best-selling car. The compact car that Tesla is going to make will come out in a year or two, and Tesla is going to reduce the reliance, or they're going to slowly phase out the Model X and the Model S, and people think the Model 3 as well. There's no need for it because it kind of fits in kind of like this, you got the Model Y and then you got the compact. There's no need for the Model 3. I don't think so. I think there's a very big space here. They're going to make it go crazy. What's your opinion?
Absolutely agree with you. What a crazy thought. We've got some analysts saying they don't have enough models, and now the same analysts saying they have too many. That's crazy talk.
Yes.
There will always be a market, and if the Model 3 costs $1 less than the Model Y, a rental car company is more likely to buy it. Period, because that's all they care about. So that's bonkers. What will they do with the pricing? The answer is charge as much as they can to match demand. Demand will be high. They will charge a high price. Will that cost savings get to the consumer? Yes, but not until it must. They'll have more margin to play with in terms of dropping price to keep the factories running at maximum capacity for as long as they can. It'll be fine. It'll be once it's ramped, another Tesla money printer.
I agree. And that's why I'm saying that if they make it a sporty version of the Model 3, it's going to have its
It
own,
expands it even further.
yeah, it'll have its
Yeah.
own thing. And then if they lower the price, and I do think that they are, I'm of the mind that they're going to lower the price because there's going to be a segment in between the Model Y and the compact car. And that is the $35,000 Model 3 or the $30,000 Model 3. The compact car is going to be cheaper than everybody thinks. So anyway, so this is my, if we look at this table here, which we've shown a few times now, in Q1 2023, the best-selling vehicle is Model Y. Then you've got the Corolla, the Hilux, the RAV4, and the Camry. Those are the next top 5 best-selling cars. But take a look at that. It's the Corolla. It's it's the RAV. Okay, wait. The Corolla and the Camry are up there, and I think that's the Model 3 will become the second best-selling car. It'll replace the Corolla and the Camry. Is that the right
And
thinking?
I disagree.
Okay,
Nope. There's not enough factories. There's 4
I
factories
see.
making Model Y. There's
Yeah.
2 factories making Model 3.
Hmm.
To get on this list, remember Q1 is seasonally the weakest of the quarters. So that 166 to get on the list for the quarter is artificially low because we're talking whole year numbers. Realistically, you'll need 800,000 to make this list. Fremont and Shanghai can't make 700,000 Model 3s, even with the new design, unless they do a pretty drastic remodel. Because remember, Fremont is a very old factory, and even though they're demolishing the line, the permits are to demolish the line. The permits are not to demolish the buildings. They're still going to be hermit crabbing into an old, out of date design building. And in Shanghai, while last week we discussed that the solar panels have not been added to the roof of the Model 3 assembly building, indicating they could do some radical expansion, we have yet to see evidence that they would. And if they were to do that, it would mean no Model 3 production for a good 6 to 12 months. And I don't see Tesla being willing to do that, willing to shut off that entire supply of a model for that long. So I think they would struggle to make the top 5 just on capacity alone, not for a lack of demand.
Yeah, but even like, I'm not saying this year. I'm saying like maybe 3 years from now, right?
Oh, well then, yeah, entirely possible, entirely possible. But who knows? Because that list is going to be so crowded with other Teslas, it might not have room.
Well, tell
For
me
real,
who's
there's, well,
which
sure.
what's going to be? Who's the other Teslas? What do you think is going to? What's this
Well,
list
the
going to look like?
compact is without a doubt
Yes.
just the capacity for number one is the Tesla at 1 million a year. The capacity for the compact is going to be between 2 and 4. It's going to be number one, hands down.
Okay.
You only have to get to 800-ish to make the list. CyberTruck, I believe, is going to have an early maximum run rate of 1 million. That'll be on the list. And then, of course, the Model Y will still be there. There's no reason, just the three models, those three alone couldn't make the list. And if the Model 3 makes the list too, oh, you better start writing the eulogy for the legacy guys today, because it's going to take some time.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's talk about some more information here. That just to say, how likely is this Model 3 Highland going to come out? And so the rumors of Elon visiting China next week, which this was obviously a week ago, and the Model 3 production so the Model 3 production was shut down in Shanghai, right? So
Well, I mean, okay. Would you like me to start now? Because I can
let
tell you.
yeah, let me just finish
Yes.
this one. So
Yes.
the reason why people are thinking that the Model 3 Highland is coming soon is because they shut down the production line in China. They slowed it down, and they've filed a demolition permit in Fremont for the production line there. And so people are going, could it be the new Highland? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the answer is, I've seen the claim that production has been shut down in Fremont and or Shanghai, but when I'm looking at it, I'm not seeing it. What I'm seeing is a slowdown.
Mhm.
And Shanghai has two Model 3 lines. Fremont, I believe, also has two Model 3 lines. I think they cut capacity in half so they can retool the second line and get it running before they shut the first one off.
Mm.
Because there has to be a very real fear within the company that something is going to go wrong, like it did with the refreshes of the S and X. You remember when the S was refreshed, they said the line will be down for 2.5 weeks. 6 months later, we get a car. 8 months after that, we get the Model X. We can't shut off Model 3 production for a year. So if there are any hiccups, we need them to be sorted out, and then we'll retool the second half of the line. So that's what I see happening, is they're going to continue building these until the day the Highland is ready to come out. That's what I see.
Okay, good. So some fun things here. Let's talk about this. Is what is the name of the Model 3 Highland revised Model 3? What is the name of the compact car? And what will be the name of the robotaxi? And there's
Oh
some
man.
really interesting. This is just all rumors, just conjecture from a guy named an account called Connecting the Dots, and he created a beautiful kind of video about all this. So let me just kind of set the stage, and I'll explain why he thinks it is. He's suggesting that the Model 3, revised Model 3, will be called the Tesla Tau, and that the Model 2 will be called Tesla Pi, and that the robotaxi will be called Omega. And here's why he thinks that this is the case. So I'm not going to show his video, but here's what here's what he's saying. Okay, so basically, why did they call it Highland, Project Highland? And the reason why they said it's Project Highland is uh, because Ford in 1913 built a factory called the Highland Park Ford plant, and that was where they were building the Model T, and they doubled the production of the Model T to like something like crazy amounts of numbers. And so in what is it now? Let me just jumping around. That's the Model T, all black. They doubled it, and as you guys all know, Ford was the place where they invented the production line. And so this was something that is just amazing in the history of manufacturing, this beautiful production line. And it was called Highland Park, right? And it was vertically integrated. So I'm not going to go through the whole video, but basically what he's saying is that that's interesting, right? That's interesting. So that's why this is Project Highland. It's probably referring to that. Then Elon tweeted this out. 2022. So it's been a year and a half. And he said, I don't know what this symbol is. And then he
That
replied,
means
tau is greater than pi.
that means minuscule in Latin. The H with the little cross through it.
Okay.
So that means small, and tau is greater than, maybe larger than pi.
Yeah.
But does he mean larger in form factor or sales?
Well, I mean, obviously nobody knows what this was. It was just a little Easter egg. It could apply to anything, right? It could just be like,
Right.
it's kind of like it's interesting math. But this is where it gets interesting, right? Is that if you think about that, tau is greater than pi. So he did that. So that's where why model the connecting the dots think it's Tesla tau. Why? Here's the interesting thing. Look at this. So, if the Highland name is true, he says, this is a bunch of his assumptions. Okay. And if the reason why they called it Project Highland is because they're, kind of honoring the Highland Park that Ford had. And if because Tesla wants a Model T, their version of Model T, but they can't use Model T, so they're going to use tau, the Greek letter for tau, which is, it looks like this, a T. So
I love
this is it's brilliant. So
I
they're
love
going,
it.
okay,
It's
it
so
should be called
clever.
tau. It's clever. Now, if that's the case, then his suggestion is that the revised Model 3 will be called Tesla Tau, and it's going to come out in June 28th of this month. Because June 28th, 6.28 is double the 3.14. And remember that Tesla Pi, which will be the name of the compact car, is supposed to be 50% the cost. And so it's just, beautifully that 6.28 is double the 3.14, 50% of the price, the cost, and the everything. So he's suggesting.
So, yeah. I think as fun as it is, this is numerology at this point.
I know.
If he turns out to be spectacularly wrong, I hope no one holds it against him.
No.
Because this is crazy. This is just for fun. Now, if he's right, holy smokes. Hold on to your subscriber count, Batman, because this thing's going to the moon. I think it would be pretty wild. But yeah, and I don't think we'll see the name Tau just because I can't imagine consumers would be very happy. It sounds, I don't know, it doesn't sounds foreign. I don't know.
You're right.
I think
Very good point. Very good point.
naming.
Okay. Anyways, I just thought it's kind of cool. And then the other thing was this photo was taken of him just very recently, March 3rd, it says here. And he's wearing this shirt, which is the Omega symbol. Okay. Just a month ago, Omega symbol. And what's beautiful is that maybe he's wearing the Robotaxi t-shirt. And it might be the Robotaxi is going to be called Tesla Omega, the car to end all cars.
Yeah. I don't hate it. I would say philosophically that's correct. I don't know if you can trademark Omega because it's a little on the too common side. But whatever they call it, I think they're going to call it Johnny Cab, like from Total Recall. I don't actually think that, but whatever you call it, it's the Cybertruck's not going to have a logo because it doesn't need one because you only have to ask once. The Robotaxi doesn't really need a name. Once you know what it is, it's just part of your life. And I think it's going to be, the analysts, so many of them are just not understanding how big this is, what kind of company this is. And it's because, as Alexandra Mertz had said, all these analysts drive by watching the rearview mirror. They're always looking in the past. They're never looking ahead. If they could look ahead, they would be so rich themselves, they wouldn't have time to be analysts.
Yeah. Okay, I love it, Brian. I agree with you. All this is fun. It's just for fun. At the end of the day, it could just be. It could be like,
and it's a fun
names.
Channel. Yeah, and it's a fun channel. I'm sure everyone watching is familiar with Connecting the Dots, but if you're not, he's so good and he's so fun. And what frustrates me a little is in some videos at the beginning, you'll say, "Well, here's my credentials, and here's why you should believe me," buddy. You don't need to share your credentials. Your data alone is doing the job.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. He's great.
Videos. Okay. So talking about analysts, I want to share this, which just came out this morning. And as Piper analyst Alexander Potter, he's explained, he had his little write up and he said that he thinks that Tesla stocks got 25% upside. And what's interesting
Yeah.
about it is, and I'll explain why I think it's interesting. For the first time, an analyst is actually considering something more than just an electric vehicle. I don't know if the first time, but it's nice to see that they're now moving beyond just EVs. So his price target is $280 for Tesla. That's more than 25% higher than the current market price. And what he
So not
says,
only is,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, not only is he saying that we're adding a third to today's value based on uh, the segment beyond autos. He's saying the 200-ish, 220-ish is already too high for a car company, but we're willing to go even higher because it's not a car company, it's a tech company.
Well,
So he's pricing in a lot.
yeah, this is the silly thing, right? This is so silly about analysts. They make their estimates based on the current stock price, and the stock price rises, they've got to raise their estimates. It's so frustratingly
It is.
dumb, right?
It's so dumb. Yeah. On the, what was it, on the 5th? So what was that? Yesterday, day before, Citi raised their price target to 215 as it went above 215.
Exactly. Yeah,
Guys, come, you're just throwing darts at the board. You're not doing, oh wow, you think it's worth $3 less than it is. That's very bold of you.
exactly. So here's
And
what
the
Potter
fact that
wrote.
they don't show us their numbers, real quick, the fact that they don't show us how they, when you look at James Stevenson or me or any of us, we show you where we show you the math. We let you look behind the curtain. And the analysts don't. They go, well, we've got a very complicated system and 215. Where are you coming up? JP Morgan Chase for the longest time had a price target of like $40 or
Yes.
something insane. And okay, justify it. Show me where those numbers. Well, it's just a weakness. No, no, no. That's not fine. Whatever. Please continue.
Yeah. And the ones who do show the numbers, they've only just shown electric vehicle sales because they won't add in things that aren't selling yet. And that's why I'm bringing this up. This guy named Potter said that in our view, new revenue streams are a core aspect of the stock thesis, hence our price target of 280. It's more than just the car company. Thank you. It's finally starting to come out. So he says that Tesla sells solar panels. Weird thing they bring that up because that's the one that's tiny. Battery storage products, utility scale battery storage, software is a product. Of course, the moonshots is the Optimus, and so he sees opportunity in things like the heat pumps, which doesn't even exist yet. I love it. So the analyst values the car business at 135 a share, and which is twice the market value to it. And so that's why people are saying, well, how do you value the auto business? But now they're valuing the rest of Tesla at another 145 a share for all the other stuff, software and energy storage. Great.
Yeah.
So finally,
And
we're
that's
starting to
great.
see this. Mm-hmm.
And I agree with the 135 for automotive. I think that's completely fair. Well, they're only 20% as big as Toyota. Right. But they're making as much money as Toyota on 20% of the volume, and they're going to continue growing. That margin may shrink over time, not necessarily, but it could. But if they get to Toyota's size, they're going to be making twice as much money at least, if not 4 or 5 times as much. I think the
Yeah.
135 is right. And the fact that we're pricing in, we can see Megapack, we can see it in deployment. It's going to be absolutely huge. And Alex Potter gets it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we pointed out the stats already. It just came out that Toyota makes 8 times the number of cars, but they have the same margins. And so as soon
The
as
same
Tesla keeps
total
growing,
profit.
yeah, total profit. Anyways, so analysts are starting to get it, which is this is the year that's happening. I mentioned that in the last earnings call, we saw 4 analysts bring up Tesla Energy on their own. Okay, they're expecting it to
Mm.
happen this year. And then just on CNBC, and I showed this in one of our previous episodes, and on CNBC, they actually had a little clip where they said that Tesla is not just a car company, they're an energy company, they're an AI company, and then they said it's the everything company. And they laughed. And it's like, okay, it's starting to come out, right? People are starting to realize this. This is it. Okay, let's get going. So you're here. You're the Gigafactory expert. we're starting to see rumors. This one is not a rumor, but Elon Musk was actually on a FaceTime call, on a conference call with Mongolian Prime Minister, and they talked about a potential investment and cooperation in the EV sector at this virtual meeting. They talked about a potential research venture using the rare earth element battery minerals. Let's see what else they say here. So Mongolia is resource rich, rare earth materials and copper, and the country recently commenced production at this mine, one of the world's largest known copper and gold deposit production. And then I'm going to show a video of what they talked about. Apparently, Elon also talked about, giving them Starlink.
Юу үнэтэй?
Тэр нь ажиллагаа байна.
Тэгвэл цагаагаар хэлчихвээ.
Hello, thank you for taking time for this meeting. You know, Mongolia is a landlocked country, but we are not mind-locked. Genghis Khan. Second one is Gobi Desert.
A lot of history of Genghis Khan.
Yeah. Large cold deserts with freezing temperature, dust storms, and other natural challenges for Martian settlers. Space and space tourism projects. This idea maybe sound crazy at this moment, but if it works.
Cool, thank you.
And also, I would like to buy the electric cars, call it the Genghis Khan scholarship.
Okay, great.
Mining projects outside our country's border, the elements we know the developing projects preserve in our country, these electric vehicle parts can be supplied.
Thank you.
Mongolia for the Starlink internet can be very helpful to the people of Mongolia because it is extremely well suited to low population density.
Wind and solar power.
Especially in digital economy.
I would like to visit at some point. At some point in the coming years, I would be great to visit. Yeah.
All the economic forms.
Starlink usage increases.
Thank you. Welcome to Mongolia.
All right, cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Al.
All right, Brian.
So how much time you got? How much time you got?
We got 5 minutes. Go for it.
You stumbled into my wheelhouse. I know China stuff awfully well. They will not be building cars in Mongolia. It doesn't make sense. Cars are too bulky. The mineral deposits are magical. Copper is something that is needed for all applications that involve electricity, and Mongolia's got it. But the reason they won't build cars there is Mongolia is very remote. It's a very high mountainous area, but it has people, it has minerals, and that means they can have factories. How do you get the parts or minerals out? And the answer is they spent decades building an incredible train line to Mongolia, specifically to keep it part of the China, of greater China, as it were. In China, they don't call Mongolia a country. They call it the Mongolian Autonomous Zone or something like that, meaning they kind of self-govern, but they kind of don't. They're kind of part of China. So would they extract trainloads of stuff? What they would do is build factories, build refineries, build all the stuff there because they need the jobs there to keep the people there. Otherwise, the people are going to go to the big cities. They're going to go to Beijing. They're going to go to Shanghai. They're going to leave. Do the trains have capacity? Yes, because currently the trains are bringing more stuff to Mongolia and coming back mostly empty. This is a good balance for the infrastructure to handle it and maximize its capacity. It's a good system for keeping the local population employed, busy, happy, rich. And then you get to Starlink. Starlink works so much better, not just in rural places, but in higher latitudes, which Mongolia is. It's a good fit for all these things. And if China's on board, Mongolia can get Starlink. And if Starlink works in Mongolia, China could allow it to expand into other parts of its territory. This is pure money. It's a good play. Mongolia works.
Yeah. I mean, have you heard of any other auto manufacturer that is negotiating with countries? This is the first we all heard about Mongolia. Here's Elon, talking to the prime minister of Mongolia, basically talking about mining in Mongolia, reserving their mineral-rich mines. This is one company that's ahead of the game of everyone else, locking this down for future growth. If the other companies don't do something similar, they're falling behind fast. But we're hearing Elon just going around the world, locking these, having these conversations and locking these partnerships up. So this is fantastic. So do you think that they might
It's
do a mega
crazy.
pack?
It's
Yeah, a mega pack factory or something like that, or
uh,
you don't think so?
I don't think so. I think they're yeah, I don't know.
Just
It
mining.
yeah, I think just mining or parts, simple, smaller, less complex parts.
Yeah.
But even then, I really think it's just the raw materials that are the easiest to get out of there. Because I don't know much about the tech sector in Mongolia. I imagine it's still in its early days.
Yeah.
But Elon is talking with heads of state. He's talking with all these ministers and development bureaus. Do you see Mary Barra's phone ringing off the hook to get, oh, we really need to talk to Mary? No, no. It's a different kind of company and it's a different kind of executive.
Okay. That's Mongolia, which is very surprising. I don't think any of us thought that this was going to happen. Then we've
That
got
wasn't on my bingo card. No.
and then there's more rumors about India. So Tesla poised for entry into India with potential vendor base. Now, this is still rumors. There's nothing here that supports this, but they call it a recent report that suggests that Tesla has agreed in principle to the Indian government's proposal, not just to assemble vehicles in country, but also establish a vendor base, which I think my understanding is that obviously very few vendors are in India. What they would need to do is create subsidiaries or presence in India. So let's see.
What do you mean there's not many vendors? Because India has a very large domestic automotive manufacturing industry. I think headlights are there. I think windows are there. It's all there. They just have to establish those contracts. And I think we discussed it last week, India said, okay, look, we're ready to get serious. Give us your actual proposal. And Tesla said, we need an import exemption for parts while we build the supply line. I imagine that had timelines in it because everything Tesla, if you don't give them timelines, it doesn't always happen on a timeline of any kind. But what they would say, you look at China and when the Model 3 launched in China, it had only 10% localized parts. Almost everything was coming in from Fremont or other countries. And within a year, it was 90% local parts. Now, it might take a little longer than a year in India to get to 90%, but there's no reason they couldn't get to 60, 70% within 8 or 9 months, with the last 20% taking a bit longer. All we need is just let us start selling the darn cars. You can see we spent $2 billion, $4 billion on the factory. You can see we're doing this. And I think they would absolutely do that. And getting the vendors lined up is part of it. Now would be the time to start forming those relationships.
Yeah. So it's just a rumor, but it's obviously much more a smoke in the area if that's the case. So the government is willing to give time for setting up a domestic vendor base. So that's what I heard. What I read somewhere else was that, India is very protectionist. And so they need to have, they're going to ask you to create companies in India. And that's where Tesla will need to take its supply chain that it has in other countries and have them form subsidiaries. And that's why this says, I'll give you time to do that.
Well, I think they would still be buying a lot of the stuff. I don't think Tesla would make their own glass company in India. I think they would find a glass vendor and buy glass. And I think the same is true for fuses or plastic trim or whatever it may be. Plastic, I think they would make in house, but all the little components, the screws, the bolts, and I don't think they need to make their own companies. I think they just need to find them and get the contracts lined up, and I see this as moving forward, which is what I wanted to see.
Exactly. All right. So lots of good news today. Every day, every week, there's always good news, but the stock is finally responding. And so it sounds like you and I kind of believe and are hopeful that this Model 3 Highland is going to be a bigger deal than most people are thinking. It's going to be lower cost. I think it's going to be lower price. It's going to have a bigger segment for it. I don't think Tesla's going to abandon the Model 3. In fact, I think that they're going to reposition it in between the compact and the Model Y, make it sportier. And so I think that when this launches, it could be I'm not sure yet if it's going to be a stock catalyst per se, because people are not going to necessarily recognize the importance. But I think in the next year or two, this could be a big sales mover. I just don't see them abandoning Model 3. I can see them abandoning Model S and X, but not the Model 3. And that's
Mhm.
why when you hear the rumors that they're going to be built off the Roadster platform, again, it kind of makes sense that, okay, well, I mean, no, again, it could just be small numbers. It doesn't make anything, but okay.
I would also say that because they'll be using the structural front and rear castings, because they'll be using simplified design, production will be higher than it is at its current peaks. If you look at the best quarter ever for Model 3, the new Model 3 will come out faster. It will do it on a shorter line, which means maybe they could fit a second line in that space. Who knows? It's going to move out the door quicker, which is what we want to see. And it will, they're gonna sell more than a couple, I think.
Well, the other argument that I can buy is that the Model 3, revised Model 3, is still going to be based off the old Model Y, Model 3 platform. But if they're moving to the unboxed model, the next gen model, then yeah, I can see why maybe slowly, this won't matter. But the Model Y is the number one cars that they're selling. And so why wouldn't they just do Model Y, Model 3 and make those things like just gangbusters? And then you've got the unboxed model. So
yeah, if it's still profitable to sell them at 30, 35,000, and you can do so in the millions, why wouldn't you? And remember, if we're going to drop 200 to 500 pounds off the car and put the same drivetrain in it, you just got a faster Model 3. The performance 0 to 60 just improved. The mileage improved. Putting in the new water coolant system with the octavalve rather than improvements in efficiency, better range. It's going to be, the Model 3 is already an industry leading car, and it's about to get a little better.
Nice. Great conversation. Thank you, Brian. So Brian has his own YouTube channel called MyTeslaWeekend. He's got a great video that I absolutely love that you should check out, which is he did a full breakdown of this revised Model 3, talking about how you can just take the Model 3, everything you just heard about it. He covers all the ways that it's going to actually be better car, reduce costs. And that's how I built my conviction that I think the Model 3 is going to be a lower price car that's going to take off. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brian. Love it. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank